The moment she said it, the entire room seemed to freeze. "Act like you love me. Please." Her voice trembled, barely holding together the shattered pieces of her dignity as dozens of well-dressed guests turned to stare. Standing under the glittering chandeliers of a luxury hotel in New York, Clara Whitmore, dressed in a simple, worn-out dress that didn't belong in a place like this, looked up at a man she had never met before, her eyes silently begging him to save her from the humiliation she was drowning in. Just a few feet away stood her ex-boyfriend, Victor Hayes, smirking with cold satisfaction, his arm wrapped around a glamorous woman who wore wealth like a second skin. Clara's past, her pain, and her broken pride all stood in front of her in that moment, and she had nothing left except a desperate gamble. Before we go further, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and stories that touch the heart, take a moment to like this video, comment where you're watching from, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to the channel. You never know whose life a story like this might change. Clara hadn't always been this broken. Just 2 years ago, she had been full of dreams, working 2 jobs while attending night classes, believing in a future she was building brick by brick. Victor had been part of that dream, charming, ambitious, and promising her the world. But promises, she learned, are often the easiest things to break. When Victor got his big break in the corporate world, everything changed. Slowly, he began to drift, embarrassed by Clara's modest background, her second-hand clothes, her struggle. And one day, without warning, he left, choosing wealth, status, and a new life over the girl who had stood by him when he had nothing. Clara had tried to move on, but life didn't make it easy. Her mother fell ill, medical bills piled up, and the weight of responsibility crushed her fragile hope. She took whatever work she could find, often skipping meals just to keep things afloat. And yet, through all of it, she held on to one thing, her dignity. Until tonight. She hadn't even planned to come to this event. It was a last-minute catering job, a chance to earn a little extra money. She thought she could blend into the background, serve drinks, and leave unnoticed. But fate had other plans. The moment she saw Victor across the room, laughing, successful, and completely untouched by the past, something inside her cracked. And when he saw her, really saw her, and smirked as if she were nothing, the pain became unbearable. That's when she turned to the man standing beside her, Ethan Cole, a name whispered with respect in business circles, a self-made millionaire known for his sharp mind and guarded heart. He wasn't supposed to be part of her story, but in that desperate moment, he became her only chance. For a second, Ethan just looked at her, his expression unreadable. He saw the tears she was trying to hide, the quiet desperation behind her words, and the silent storm raging inside her. He could have walked away. He could have ignored her like everyone else in that room, but he didn't. Without a word, Ethan gently placed his hand over hers. The room shifted. Clara felt his warmth, steady and reassuring, and before she could fully process it, he pulled her closer, just enough to make it look real. His voice, calm and firm, carried just enough to reach Victor. And in that moment, everything changed. Victor's smirk faded. The confidence he wore so easily cracked as he watched Clara standing beside one of the most powerful men in the room. The girl he had once discarded now stood in a place he could never have imagined for her. But what Victor didn't see was the truth behind Clara's eyes. This wasn't victory. It was survival. As the night went on, Ethan didn't let go. He stayed by her side, playing the role she had asked for, but with a sincerity that went far beyond acting. He listened when she spoke, noticed the way her hands trembled, and the way she avoided looking at Victor. For the first time in a long time, Clara didn't feel invisible. When the event ended, she expected it to be over. She thanked him, her voice soft, her eyes filled with gratitude, and a hint of sadness, knowing this moment would fade like everything else in her life. But Ethan surprised her again. Instead of walking away, he asked her a simple question. Why? Why did she ask a stranger for something so personal? Why did she look like someone carrying the weight of the world alone? And for reasons she couldn't explain, Clara told him everything. Not in dramatic words, not in perfect sentences, but in raw, honest fragments of a life that had been anything but easy. Ethan listened, and something inside him shifted. Days turned into weeks, and what started as a moment of desperation became something neither of them expected. Ethan offered her a job, not out of pity, but because he saw something in her that others had overlooked. Strength, resilience, a quiet determination that refused to break no matter how hard life tried. Clara hesitated at first. She didn't want charity. She didn't want to owe anyone anything. But Ethan made it clear, this wasn't about saving her. It was about giving her a chance. And she took it. Slowly, her life began to change. Not overnight, not magically, but step by step. She worked hard, proved herself, and started to rebuild the confidence she had lost. The girl who once begged for someone to pretend to love her began to rediscover her own worth. And somewhere along the way, the line between pretending and reality blurred. Ethan didn't just see her anymore. He respected her. And Clara, she began to feel something she thought she had lost forever. Hope. If this story is touching your heart so far, don't forget to like, share, and comment. Your support helps bring more stories like this to life, and your voice truly matters. Months later, Clara stood in front of a mirror, not as the broken girl from that night, but as someone stronger, someone who had fought her way back. She wasn't defined by Victor's rejection anymore, nor by her past struggles. She had become her own person, and when she saw Victor again, by chance this time, there was no anger, no pain, just indifference, because she no longer needed anyone to act like they loved her. She had learned to love herself. And Ethan? He stood beside her, not as part of an act, but as someone who had chosen to stay, to care, and to believe in her when she couldn't believe in herself. Before we end, here's something special. Comment the word hope if you believe that even the darkest moments can lead to something beautiful. Because sometimes the most desperate pleas lead to the most unexpected beginnings, and sometimes pretending to be loved is the first step toward finding something real,